Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you've taken time out of your day to join us for this 30-minute webinar, Fresh Perspectives on Year-End Giving. My name is Josh Anderson, and I am a director in the endowment management area at the Episcopal Church Foundation. I am your host and presenter for our time together this afternoon. I am also joined by my colleague, Julia Acker, Director for Endowment Marketing at ECF. Juliet will be monitoring our chat today. We are on a tight schedule without a dedicated question and answer time, but if you do have questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat and we will do our best to follow up with individuals following today's webinar. This session is also being recorded, and a link to that recording, as well as a copy of the presentation slides and a one-page handout highlighting the information shared, will be distributed to all registrants following the conclusion of the webinar. Please feel free to share the recording and accompanying resources with other leaders in your church. And now, with that bit of housekeeping out of the way, let's go ahead and open with a word of prayer before we begin. Generous God, you are the giver of every good gift. As we gather today, open our hearts and minds to see year-end giving not only as a financial act, but as an expression of gratitude, hope, and discipleship. Bless the faith communities and leaders represented here, that their ministries may be strengthened, their people inspired, and their witness to your love made ever more clear. Guide our conversation that it may help us invite others into joyful generosity for the building up of your kingdom. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. So here we are in the fourth quarter of 2025. This time of year is busy. We are closing this year's budgets, finalizing next year's budgets, preparing services, and will soon be juggling family holidays. But it's also one of the most spiritually charged times of the year, a season of gratitude, generosity, and reflection. It's also the moment when donors, whether parishioners or other community supporters, are making some of their biggest giving decisions. So today, instead of a checklist of tasks, we're going to look at three fresh perspectives that can help your faith community approach this season with more clarity, confidence, and hope. Now, to add a bit of interactivity to our session this afternoon, we've built in 4 quick polls to help us better understand who's in the room with us today. So let's take a moment to hear from you. Now, a poll question is going to pop up on your screen. I hope you are seeing it now. So I would ask that you simply choose one of the responses to best represent you and your Episcopal community of faith. So our first poll here is, does your church currently run a year-end giving appeal? And I'm seeing the responses flowing in already, so we'll just take a few brief moments to let everyone get a chance to respond to that poll. And then we will go ahead and share the poll results on the screen as well. Good, good. We've got 100% participation. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we see here that, yes, we do have a good majority of people who, a nice group of people who are doing some sort of targeted campaign every year. Some folks who are sometimes doing things kind of dependent on leadership, and then others who have maybe not done this or are rarely doing this type of work. So thank you. I will put those results up on the screen there. It is really a helpful snapshot for us. And no matter where you land on this poll, it is my hope that you leave here today with some new tools and language to help strengthen your approach. So first, before we dive into the meat of the presentation, I want to just briefly highlight why we put such a focus on this idea of year-end philanthropy, why it's important for communities of faith to consider taking a more active role in fundraising in the last quarter of the year. So here's the context. Nearly all nearly 30% of all charitable giving happens in December, and 12% of that is in the final 3 days of the year. Now, from a donor psychology standpoint, and we're going to be using that term a lot throughout the presentation, donor psychology, it's just a way of describing how people think and feel when they make giving decisions. So, from a donor psychology standpoint, three forces come together at year end: practicality, emotion, and tradition. So, first, practicality. These are the concrete tangibles of charitable giving, things like tax deadlines or closing the books for the fiscal year. Emotion. This may manifest itself in an expression of gratitude upon reflection of the blessings that we've received. And then finally, tradition. So many in our congregations view giving back to their community and the organizations whose work they value as a part of their time honored Advent and Christmas rituals. And for us, as people of faith, this season carries deep meaning. Advent invites us to prepare, to look ahead, to invest in God's future. You see, year end giving isn't just a financial checkpoint, it's an opportunity to connect generosity to discipleship. So as we move through these three perspectives, we're going to look at each one through three lenses. So first, we'll continue to touch upon this idea of donor psychology, what's happening in people's hearts and their minds. Second, I want to provide you with a practical framework, so a simple set of steps that you can act on right away to help bolster your local giving efforts. And then third, some theological underpinning. So how does this idea or perspective connect to our faith and discipleship? This way, you walk away not just with ideas, but with clear, usable tools presented within the context of our shared faith. So, what are these three fresh perspectives that I'm going to talk about? Now that we've set the stage for why year end giving matters, let's look at how we can approach it differently this year. We're going to explore three fresh perspectives, three small shifts that can make a big difference in how your church communicates about generosity at year end. So, first, we'll talk about being present, showing up in the right ways at the right time because donors are already making their giving decisions now. Second, we're going to explore how to unlock bigger gifts. So, simple ways to open the door to generosity that goes beyond the offering plate. And third, we'll look at how to frame giving as an investment in the future, moving from filling a budget gap to finding the vision to funding the vision that God has placed before you. Now, each of these three perspectives builds on the last, and together it's my hope that they help you invite generosity with more clarity, confidence, and purpose. So let's start with the first perspective, how being present in donor decisions can transform your year-end giving. So, perspective one, your donors are making big decisions with or without you. Right now, donors are already starting to consider where and how much to give. And if the church isn't clear and present as a potential recipient of your congregation's generosity, then other charities will fill that space. You see, many people feel a responsibility to finish strong at the end of the year. And if the church is silent, donors may assume, well, they don't need me, or that their gift may be better put to work elsewhere. So, what does this mean for us as local leaders? How can we ensure that our parish, diocese, school, camp and conference center, whatever it may be, is front of mind when donors are considering their year end contributions? So, number one, show up. Send at least one clear year end communication. This isn't just about sending something, it's about showing up with intention. Think of it as a pastoral act, not a marketing task. A well timed personal message from a trusted leader, whether that's your rector, your senior warden, maybe your treasurer, That can make a deep impression on donors. It tells your members the church is here, we're grateful, and we're still doing meaningful work. Your message doesn't need to be long. It could be a letter, an email, a short video message, or even just a brief note in your bulletin. What matters is that it's clear, it's invitational, and it's grounded in your mission. Consistency matters more than polish. Even a simple, heartfelt reminder helps your donors feel connected to something enduring. Second, be specific. Tie gifts to real ministry impact. When you invite a gift, make sure people know what difference it makes. Donors aren't motivated by line items, they are inspired by outcomes. Instead of saying, we need $10,000 to meet our budget, try something like, your year end gift helps sustain the ministries that serve our neighbors every week, from our food pantry to our choir to our youth programs. Specific examples bring generosity to life. If your church has an endowment, highlight how distributions from the fund have made ministry possible this year. Show how past gifts continue to bless the community today. That kind of storytelling helps donors see that their support truly has a lasting impact. And then finally, lead with gratitude. Start with thanksgiving, not panic. Your donors want to feel appreciated, not pressured. Opening with thank you changes everything. It shifts the tone from need to partnership. A good year end message should celebrate what God has done through your community this year and thank those who made it possible. You might say, because of your generosity, we welcome new families, supported outreach, and kept our doors open to all. Thank you for being a part of that story. Then gently extend the invitation forward. As we look toward a new year, we invite you to help us continue this good work. See, when gratitude frames the message, generosity becomes a joyful response rather than a reluctant duty. So as you think about your own year end message, remember presence and gratitude go hand in hand. Which leads me to the theological framing for this perspective. Generosity is stewardship, aligning our resources with our faith commitments. When we invite people to give, we're not just funding a budget, we're giving them an opportunity to live their discipleship. That's really the heart of this first perspective, showing up and inviting generosity as an act of faith, not obligation. So let's pause for a moment to hear from you about how your own church approaches this in practice. Our second poll question, which best describes your church's approach to year-end messaging? So do you do a send out a dedicated email or mailing? Are you simply mentioning it in passing, or are you not sending any direct communication at all related to year end? Full. We've got lots of responses flowing in here. We'll take just a few more seconds to let others go ahead and answer. Great. I'm going to end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Responses in, pencils up. Let's share those results on the screen. So again, we've got a nice a nice group of people who are doing some sort of direct communication at year end, a handful of folks who are simply doing a simple mention in passing, and some others on the call here who are not doing any direct communication at this time. So that's great. It's wonderful to see that. A lot of times churches have good intentions, but they don't communicate clearly. Even one well-crafted email can make a difference for you, though, which is going to bring us to our next perspective, how we can make generosity feel more accessible for everyone. Um, Perspective two, unlocking bigger gifts with simpler conversations. Many of your parishioners, especially those who are older or have invested over many years, they already hold assets that could make a lasting difference for your church. The thing is, they may not realize how simple it can be to give in ways other than cash or check. When we only talk about giving through the Sunday offering plate or through our online portals, we unintentionally limit the imagination of our donors. For many, it's not that they won't give more, it's that they don't know they can. Many donors want to give more than cash. Gifts of stock, IRA distributions, donor advised funds, endowment contributions. Churches often leave these untapped simply because they never mention them. Let's talk for a moment again about the psychology behind these gifts. People love finding ways to stretch their impact without creating additional strain on their budgets. When you help someone make a gift from appreciated stock or a qualified charitable distribution from their IRA or a grant from their donor advised fund, you're actually helping them give out of an abundance rather than limitation. That's empowering. It makes generosity feel joyful and accessible, not burdensome. So here's a simple framework you can use to open this door for your donors. One, name it. Let people know it's even possible. Most parishioners have never been told that their church can receive gifts of stock. IRA distributions or contributions from a donor advised fund. So start by simply naming it out loud, in print, and in your regular communications. You might include a line like, did you know you can support our ministry through gifts of stock or through your IRA? This kind of visibility normalizes these forms of generosity. People can't act on an opportunity that they don't know exists. And once it's named, it becomes real, it becomes approachable. Two, normalize it. Make it feel like a natural part of discipleship. Many people think non cash giving is something that only wealthy donors do, and it's not. Framing these gifts as another expression of stewardship helps shift that mindset. You might share a brief story in your bulletin or at your announcement time in the Sunday service. Say, a member of our congregation recently made a gift from her IRA, something she didn't know was possible until last year. It was a meaningful way for her to give back while also being tax smart. Stories like that make generosity tangible and human. They help parishioners realize that charitable gifts aren't about wealth, they're about values and faith. And then third, navigate it. Offer reassurance and partnership. Once you've named and normalized the opportunity, the next step is to make it easy. Emphasize that donors don't have to figure it out alone. If you are a client of ECF's endowment management services, we have developed tools and guides to help you navigate these non-cash gift types. We have ready-to-go resources to promote stock gifts or qualified charitable distributions from an IRA. And we would welcome the opportunity to discuss your needs and share those resources with you. You don't have to be a financial expert. Simply say, we can connect you with someone who can help facilitate your gift. When people know there's someone to help guide them, fear turns into curiosity, and curiosity often turns into generosity. When we do these things, we open up spaces for generosity to grow naturally. And here's where our theology intersects again with practice. God entrusts us with many forms of wealth: time, talent, and treasure. When we invite people to explore different ways of giving, we're not just raising money, we're inviting them into a fuller expression of their discipleship, using what God has given them to strengthen the ministries they love. So take a moment to think about what this might look like in your setting. Could your next newsletter or Sunday announcement simply name one of these opportunities? Sometimes the most faithful thing we can do is simply open the door and let God do the rest. So, as we think about the many ways that generosity can take shape, I'm curious, has your church ever actually received a non cash gift before? Let's take another quick poll. So, has your church ever received a non-cash year-end gift, like a stock gift or a QCD from an IRA, or maybe a grant from a donor advised fund? Lots of responses flowing in. Thank you for your participation. I really do appreciate that. Take just a few more moments. All right. Let's get those results up on the screen. So we're seeing that, yes, folks are regular receiving non-cash gifts. So that's wonderful to see. I'm glad you are promoting, hopefully, and have the ability to receive those. We have a couple, some folks who are receiving maybe once or twice a year, and then some others on the call here who are not yet sure or are not yet receiving those types of gifts or maybe don't know. So that's really in line with what we hear from other Episcopal organizations. Many have not received a cash gift or not realized that they're already receiving our non-cash gifts like that. So this is a great reminder that these opportunities often start simply by being named. Now, as we move into our third and final perspective, I want to shift our focus from the mechanics of giving back to the message itself. So, perspective three, don't just fill the gap, fund the future. This last perspective is about how we frame our invitations to give. Too often, year end appeals are built around closing a budget shortfall. We've all seen messages like, we're $15,000 behind. Please help us catch up before December 31st. Now, I get it. Those messages are honest, and sometimes they do bring in results, but they also unintentionally frame giving as a rescue mission rather than a partnership in ministry. Let's pause and think about this from a donor's point of view. Donor psychology tells us that people respond more strongly to strength than to scarcity. They're drawn to vision, not desperation. You see, when the message is we're thriving and we want you to help us grow, it's inspiring. When it's we're sinking and need a lifeline, it can feel discouraging or even anxiety inducing. So, what if instead of appealing to donors to fill a gap, we invited them to fund the future? What if your message said something like, as we look toward a new year of ministry together, your year end gift will help us expand our outreach, deepen our worship, and sustain the good work God has begun in this place? See, it's still honest about need, but it's anchored in hope. It looks ahead, not behind. Here's a framework to help you think about this approach in your own context. First, name the reality. Be transparent about where you are financially. Donors value honesty, not perfection. When leaders acknowledge the real circumstances of their parish, whether there's a shortfall, a challenge, or a season of transition, it builds trust. But transparency doesn't have to sound anxious. You might say, We're closing out a faithful year of ministry. And like many churches, we have both blessings to celebrate and needs to be met. Naming the reality is about clarity, not alarm. It grounds your invitation in authenticity and helps people feel part of the solution, not burdened by the problem. Second, lift the vision, connect the present to what's possible. Once you've named the reality, turn your focus towards hope. Help people see how their gift is not just filling a line item, it's advancing the work God is doing through your community. Instead of saying, help us make budget, you might say, your gift will help us expand our outreach, deepen our worship, and strengthen our witness in the coming year. When you link generosity to purpose and outcomes, giving becomes a way for donors to participate in the unfolding of God's vision, not merely to maintain the institution. And finally, offer legacy. Invite gifts that last beyond the calendar year. Remind donors that generosity doesn't have to stop at December 31st. Encourage them to think about how their giving can sustain ministry far into the future. You might include a simple reminder that your church's endowment or legacy fund exists to provide steady, lasting support and investment in tomorrow's church. A line like, consider a gift to our endowment fund to ensure that the ministries you love today will continue to bless future generations, helps connect the dots between faith, permanence, and purpose. From the theological perspective, this idea of looking forward is deeply tied to the season. Advent calls us to wait with hope and to prepare the way for the Lord. Year-end giving can become a part of that spiritual preparation, an act of faith that looks toward the ministry of tomorrow. So rather than saying, help us close the books, we can say, help us open new doors. Rather than we need to catch up, we can say, we're moving forward. It's a small but powerful shift in how we invite generosity, and it can transform how people feel about giving. Take a moment to reflect. What future is your church inviting people to help create? Because that's what true stewardship looks like. It's a faith expressed through possibility. So as you begin preparing your own year-end message, remember, hope and honesty can live side by side. As we come to the end of our time together, let's take a moment to revisit these three perspectives that we've discussed today. So, one, be present where donors are deciding. Stay visible. Let your donors know that your church, your ministry, your community of faith is a place worthy of their generosity. Even one well-timed communication can make a difference. Two, unlock bigger gifts with simple invitational language. Remember, not all gifts come through the offering plate. When we name and normalize other types of giving, like stock, IRA distributions, or endowment gifts, we expand people's imagination for generosity. And three, frame giving as an investment in the future. Don't just focus on closing the books. Lift up your church's vision. Help people see how their generosity builds the foundation for what comes next. Each of these three perspectives gives us a different way to see generosity at work in our communities. Taken together, they remind us that year-end giving isn't just about finishing strong. It's about helping people connect their gratitude and faith with the mission of the church. We've covered a lot of ground today. Three different ways to approach generosity with more clarity and hope. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to think about which one of these perspectives feels most relevant for your church right now. So for our final poll question, which perspective do you want to try out this year? Take a moment to select the one that resonates the most with you. That's your small but powerful next step for this year-end season. Just a few moments, let people get their responses in. Wonderful. Thank you again for your participation in these polls. I really appreciate it. We'll get those results up on the screen. So it seems like the thing that's resonating the most with people is this idea of framing for the future, how we talk about year-end giving, how we position that conversation. Whether it's sending one clear message, naming a new kind of gift, or reframing your appeal around hope and vision, each of these small shifts can help unlock generosity in ways that truly strengthen your ministry. Thank you again for joining us today and for the ministry that you lead within your communities. Remember, year-end giving isn't just about dollars, it's about discipleship. When we invite generosity, we're inviting people into deeper relationship with God and with one another. So as you move through this Advent and Christmas season, may you approach your work with clarity, with courage, and with joy. May your year end be generous, hopeful, and joy filled, strengthening mission today and tomorrow. Thank you again for joining us today and for the ministry you lead within your communities. As you carry these ideas back, know that you don't have to navigate them alone. The Episcopal Church Foundation is here to help, whether you're discerning how to strengthen your endowment, grow your giving, or sustain your mission for years to come. If you'd like to learn more or talk through how these ideas might take shape in your own church, please reach out to me or to any member of the ECF Endowment Management team. We would be honored to support you. Thank you again for attending. Your presence is greatly appreciated, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.